And we are going free. If everyone can hear me, please say that you can. If you can hear and see me. And we are going free. Oh, let me stop the feedback over here. There we go. Feedback is ceased. So apparently I could hear on one of my other systems that I have set up so that I can see you all of your comments over on Gardening with NWG this time, those of you who are on that channel. Although I have to figure out a way to increase the size of the verbiage there. Can everyone hear me everywhere else? Jonas, great to see you. Lisa P, looks and sounds good. Thank you so much. Red Pill Bulgaria, I can hear you twice. Indeed. Thank you. I was echoing myself. Loud and clear, Chad says. Thank you. Raymond, good to see you, brother. Yes, he says. 4-0, good to see you. Let's see who is on here over on Gardening with No White Guild. I see Maiden, DE, good to see you. Zandrophon is over there. Jackie is there. Thomas is there. Shauna is there. Sifu is there. Sifu said somewhere as I was scrambling to get things together that he has decided, I think it was Sifu. Please correct me if I'm wrong. LG is over there on Gardening with NWG. Blanche Fury, I think it was Sifu who said that after watching Sticks, Hex, and Hammer 666 over on PWR, Patriotic Weekly Review, that he has decided to become a radical fence sitter. Is that the case with Sticks? I'm afraid I have not seen enough of his content to speak directly to it. Seeing Red, great to see you. Eternalism is here. Pure White Powder. I like that name. Very good. Let me give a big hello to everybody who's watching right now on Periscope, Twitch, VK, Facebook, DLive, Mixer, and of course, Entropy people are watching. Who am I missing? But a big hello to everybody who's watching on all of these different platforms. We continue to expand as the anti-whites continue to throttle, and therefore we win. And in fact, we're going to be talking about a great victory. I had not planned on doing a going free stream today, and it's not going to be another 3 or 4 hour stream. It is going to be a brief stream, relatively speaking, because we are going to be addressing this leafleting, this magnificent effort by a hero or heroes or groups of heroes. First thing I want to say is, if you participated, if you were the one, or you were a group of many, or a group of groups, whatever it was, do not admit to being responsible for the leafleting. I have to tell you, when I saw this last night, my heart absolutely sang. I have distributed thousands and thousands of leaflets in various ways, in various verbiage and pictures on them, and I have been critical of what has been put on the leaflets since the beginning. I mean, very rarely did the leaflets ever say anything that I thought would really serve our people, our well-being. And my ideas were always dismissed. They were always everybody knew better, whether they were elders, and of course I just as a good neophyte in the white positive sphere, I just obeyed the elders, but my peers as well just dismissed these thoughts. Sometimes they would kind of shrug, as though I guess in many cases I won't get into because it just immediately became apparent that I could list about a dozen, and we're just not going to get into that subject, but I am absolutely being vindicated by the response, and it's all because of the wonderful work of you fabulous people. The people, as I've said before, the people in the white positive sphere are the absolute best of the white race world around. And those who serve white well-being, going free, here with us, we are the best of the best. We are the vanguard of those who are actually doing something to make a real tangible change for our people in the future. Not another complaint, and indeed we need all of that other stuff. But this is something unique. You all feel it. You all are experiencing it. In fact, I wish I had, and I could, while we are revving up the Going Free episode here, I can pull up some of these absolutely magnificent things that just recently, they're sent to me all the time, but just recently have been sent. I can have a look here and read some of these statements. I haven't had an opportunity. These are raw notes that I have in front of me. Just rest assured, ladies and gentlemen, this is a triumphant day. This is a victorious day. This is something to be very excited about. And I see the great Poseidon is with us today. So a great hail to my good brother Poseidon, who is in the live stream. The Goyim group is here. Pure white powder with a great name. Hail, Jason. Hope you're having a great day. Today could not be better. Today is absolutely magnificent after what I saw last night. And it is all in thanks to, I must say, making my day. Well, no, let me rephrase this. Really making my night a wonderful night was Miss Samantha Fox. The reason why she made my night a wonderful night last night was that she reached out to me with a message that said, congratulations on these leaflets distributed by these triumphant heroes in Illinois and Indiana. And I said, what are you talking about? I had no idea what she was talking about. She said, didn't you see Red Ice, their what is it? The Weekend Warrior, I think is what they call this show that they do for members. I am a member, and if you are not, you should consider it. And they do great work over there, bringing all of us the news of what's taking place and doing it in a way that works to our benefit. And so we should be supporting them. They are, as I and Jared George and the great Poseidon are always under attack by the anti-whites. So every little bit of support helps. She said, didn't you see this Weekend Warrior? And they talked about these no white guilt leaflets to the tune of hundreds that were distributed in these two states, in several towns. I don't know how many days over which this took place, but an enormous salute and debt of gratitude. Let's get a huge round of applause, both on No White Guilt and Gardening with NWG, for this individual. It would be hard to believe that it could be one person, but God bless him or her if it was. But for this person or people or groups that are responsible for getting this information, this seed of redemption out to our brothers and sisters, our besieged brothers and sisters in our communities, doing it exactly the way it's supposed to be done. No talk of mailboxes meddled with. It was a very simple, a little weighted object placed in a plastic bag with the leaflet, the kind of things that we lawfully did. As I say, just personally, I've passed out thousands and thousands. There's no way for me to even count how many I did over the years. But perfectly lawfully. Now, mind you, though, the reason why I say if you or your group or you're one of group or groups that is responsible for this, the reason why I say don't publicly take credit for it is we're still saluting you, is because of the kind of things the anti-whites have done in the past to some of us who have distributed leaflets. When they find out who you are, very often they will move heaven and hell. They will dilate law to an absolutely ridiculous level in order to file charges against you of numerous and sundry types. These lawsuits will take, or these charges rather will take, and they will win. You will be embroiled in legal battles that will take time. It will take emotional energy. It will cost you money. It will cost you money, not only in money that you'll have to pay to lawyers, but it will also cost you money in time missed from work. Certainly if you are paid by the hour. And in the end, you're just going to lose. You'll have to pay some sort of fines. There may be some sort of sentence even where they won't suspend the sentence. It'll be like 2 weeks in jail. Just crazy things the anti-whites will do. And it'll be for, ladies and gentlemen, I've heard it for outrageous things like the town ordinance of 1905 says that XYZ material left that causes XYZ. And then so it'll be like some non-white person will claim that they felt intimidated because the leaflet, of course, we don't want these leaflets to intimidate anyone. And nothing that was distributed was intimidating. We want non-white people to come to White Wellbeing. Do you hear that, anti-whites? We want non-white people to come to White Wellbeing. We want as many non-white people, especially since there are far more in fact, let's say it this way. We want the same percentage of non-white people to come to White Wellbeing as white people, percentage of white people serve non-white well-being. That means we're going to have many, many millions more of non-whites serving white well-being than we have of white people serving non-white well-being because of math, ladies and gentlemen. If it's difficult for you anti-whites out there, I understand you all usually have problems with this subject. So it's simply a matter of the size of the population of non-whites, the size of the population of the white race around the world. We want non-whites. Now, having said that, when these leaflets end up on the yards of non-white people, the people distributing, like myself many years ago, when I did this routinely for different organizations, I did not know who lived there. There was never a sign out front that said, unless there was something really obvious, then I knew that this was a person that I did not want to waste a leaflet on, because I wanted to get it to a white brother or sister. I want to wake them up. I want to help them to go free. I don't want to give it to a anti-white, non-white person who's going to receive it and just trash it. That's a waste of my effort. That's a waste of my money. Everything is a waste. Not only that, but it's taking that leaflet out of the hands of some white person's hands that it could have been in. So naturally, we want these leaflets to reach our brothers and sisters, our white brothers and sisters, and they can't occasionally because the leaflet ends up in the lawn of a non-white person whom we cannot tell that they are non-white. And then what you end up with are these charges of racial intimidation or XYZ, and you will be punished to the fullest extent of the law. Now, don't be afraid of passing out leaflets. They're not going to be dusting for prints and then hunting you down in databases and all of that sort of thing. I've never heard of that happening. Of course, there's always a first, but I've never heard of that ever happening. The only time the law enforcement can really be bothered with this sort of thing is when you, as the leaflet distributor, go and announce to the world, it was that person and me and the other person, and we did it. And then the anti-whites say, wait, these people just admitted. So see if it was them. See if it, now go look and do fingerprints. Now look where they live. Do they live in proximity? Can you pressure one of them into admitting to a law officer? And this, don't let it come to that. The only time you can admit to distributing such a leaflet is when you have a very specific location where you are invited, where the entire public is invited to post flyers and leaflets of various political stripes. They haven't put a prohibition on it. They haven't said nothing about, you can't put anything here about white well-being, etc. In those cases, yes. Or what I also said to the lovely Samantha Fox, if you happen to see a leaflet posted somewhere, which I'm sure you did not post, and you want to get your picture with it to say, hey, look what I found on the wall of this place where it's perfectly legal to post a leaflet. Look what I found. Look at me in this leaflet I found on the wall. Or sticker or what have you. If you want to get a photograph of yourself and say, look what I found. Isn't this great? I didn't do it, but look, isn't that amazing? If you want to do that, then please do. Be smart about this, ladies and gentlemen. We need to reach our brothers and sisters, and this is an information war. They will, as in any war, the anti-whites, they're victimizing us at every opportunity they have. They will inflict victimization when they get an opportunity to do so. So be a winner. Do this sort of activity. Get this message of love, hope, and redemption out to our people like this person or people or groups did, and to the tune of hundreds of leaflets. Beautifully done. We're going to talk just about this. Absolutely beautifully done. Get that out to the people, and let's see how the anti-whites react to it. And we're going to be talking about something that is the kernel of the big difference, the enormous difference between a statement like, It's okay to be white, which is absolutely flaccid. It is absolutely useless compared to the statement of no white guilt. And I'm going to tell you why that is. And I'm going to tell you, I've had too many people tell me, these other content producers, folks who are otherwise terribly bright. I've had too many people tell me, oh, that's not going to work, or I don't see the difference there. Well, that is their limitation. You and I are able to see further. We're able to see over the horizon. I'm going to explain this to you, and you, like others, will come back to our community and you will say, you know what? I used what you were saying, and it was infinitely different. This is such an exciting day today, such an exciting day to be alive, in service to white well-being. Such an honor and pleasure to be with all of you. Let's, if you could, tweet. I'll take a look at the chat. I'll take a look at any super chats that anybody may have given thus far. And please, if you could, tweet, Gab, DLive, Facebook, VK, whatever it is, platforms you're on, Parler, Canard, reach out to your circles of influence. Let people know. Just grab this link, paste it on your page, and click send. It'll go out to the world, and we'll bring some more people into the fold of what truly is love for our people, and what truly is making a difference for the first time, some real difference in people's lives. Not just a mere education, ladies and gentlemen, but a real waking up of the masses. So let's see what we have here. Seaver Hamlin is here, says he's not seeing entropy. Well, let me take a jump over here and see. Well, it seems to be up right now. So have another look, see if you can find it. I said hello. I saw the great Poseidon is here. And I'm curious, Poseidon had mentioned that he had achieved some level on DLive, I believe. And this unlocked some other opportunities for him. He was, now he's able to stream other people's streams. So Poseidon might very well now, or at a future going free stream, or perhaps tap or what have you, be in a position, he'll be free of his time will be free, and he will also be able to stream our stream to his channel on DLive, which is significantly larger than the channel that we have on DLive, and that indeed is a great boon to us, and a big thank you to the great sea god. Let me see. Looks like Beer Hall Pooch tagged me over on Gardening with NWG. Glad you still have, what is this? Glad you still have faith in flyering. I do indeed. That is how we're going to get the message out. I have passed out too many leaflets, and with terrible leaflets, terrible verbiage, terrible pictures, and still had some results. I didn't keep doing it because it was totally useless. Now we're going to have something so much better. Now this lexicon, these dialectics are what is changing the landscape. It is absolutely changing the landscape. And we see this every day. So it's extremely exciting to be a part of this. Let's see, I have a couple others. I really got to find a way. I'm going to have 2010 vision to read this. Beer Hall Pooch saying he's here over on Gardening with No White Guilt, or NWG. The judge is judged, writing, that was a great rant on world significance of the Second Amendment in the previous stream. Well, thank you so very much for that. We were on PWR a couple hours ago, and I brought up a point that no one seems to talk about. There are a couple of points when it comes to the right to keep and bear arms. And first of all, I'll just briefly say them here. Number one, and this is what you all should use in your conversations with friends, family, and strangers. Number one, it's not about guns, period. Stop talking about guns. The Second Amendment is about the right to self-defense. The firearm is the tool of the modern era to self-defense. In the modern era, you cannot defend yourself with a sword when others have a gun. You cannot defend yourself with a crossbow when others have a gun. You cannot defend yourself with a bow when others have a gun. You cannot defend yourself with karate when others have a gun. So it is the right, the Second Amendment is the right to self-defense. And when the anti-whites are talking about all of the, in the verbiage they use, never use their verbiage, gun control, never say that. And correct people that use it as being anti-white. You refill that subject into one that is about your right to self-defense. You take great umbrage at the idea that you will be denied the right to self-defense by the anti-whites if they're allowed to get their way. So that's the first thing. The second thing that nobody ever thinks about, but you all are going to think about because we talk about it here, and certainly the judge has judged is going to be talking about it from now on, is that the reason why we don't see a Soviet-style times 10 tyranny in every other Western country around the world is because in the United States, we still have the right to self-defense. If the UK, if Greece, if Australia, if these countries began doing to their populations what they are able to do to their populations because the people don't have the right to defend themselves, the United States would swing so hard radically in the other direction, just like the Germans swang so hard radically in the other direction when they saw what the communists were doing to the white Russian people. They would swing so hard in the other direction that we would easily recapture our destiny in the United States like this, and then by way of the United States, we would be able to free the Western world. That is why you don't see gulags and death camps in Greece today. America's right to self-defense is the reason why you don't see death camps in the UK today. Those governments would do that instantly the moment the people in the United States were denied the right to self-defense. That would be the end. That would be a tyranny, the likes of which the world, it would make what the Chinese did to the Chinese communists did to the Chinese, it would make that look like a kindergarten camp. So thank you very much for bringing that up. It was a good point to mention to everybody here. So let me see who else is over here. Thank you all for applauding. Looks like Aelwolf is here. Who else is here? Simon Coates is here. We had some fun in the PWR, since we had Styx, Hex, and Hammer on. People voted to make Styx feel comfortable. And the way that at least he used to do videos about a year before when I saw him, about a year before the Trump announced his run for presidency, his candidacy, he wore this leather jacket with no shirt every stream he did, or at least the few that I saw. So I asked the chat if they were interested in me making Styx feel a little bit more comfortable. And I was in a shirt and tie. And so I climbed out of that and got into a leather jacket and no shirt. And I also had a spoon for my coffee, because he always had a spoon. In fact, I think he did today as well, but he did have a shirt on. I imagine it's not coffee. I imagine it's some sort of tea that is just free. It's not in the a tea bag. Ryan Manley super chatted $19.99. A great hero, team member, and friend, participant of this community, writing, "Keep up the great work. I have been here since day one, brother." Amen to you. God bless you. Thank you for being here with all of us. If you are, folks, if you are interested in super chatting today, and if you are unfamiliar, I say this for everyone who is unfamiliar, you can super chat right here on YouTube on the No White Guilt channel. You cannot super chat me on the Gardening with NWG channel, but you can on here at 33%, meaning that Google will take 33% of your super chat, but you get to see your super chat in the live chat and everybody else can see it as well. So that's the trade-off. You can also super chat by way of entropy, which is at 15%. 15% they take. And that, of course, is a bare minimum to run their platform. And God bless them. I hope they do a fabulous job. They're good. Every indication so far is that these are good folks. And so we're going to continue saying that until they give us a reason to think otherwise. So hail to entropy. Now, if you super chat over there, you can also ask questions there. There's an actual question widget, and you can vote on the questions of other people as well. You can watch YouTube, this stream here on entropy as well. You don't need to jump back and forth. At other times, you can participate in polls. During TAP episodes, I will very often put up a poll here or there. Mark does a much better job at putting up the polls. I got to figure out a way to come up with some better. I always object to my own poll questions. I think of them and then I think, no, I'm not gonna. That's not a good enough poll. So it looks like Poseidon is restreaming our stream on D Live. Thank you, brother. That is fantastic. I think that makes 11 different channels / platforms that we are reaching simultaneously. How do you like that, anti-whites? You censor me off platform after platform after platform. I keep my promise. I get on 2 for everyone you've censored me from, and I am back every time I can on the ones you censored me from. Sooner or later, you are not going to stop us. You're certainly not going to stop No White Guilt, and you're not going to stop the good people in this community. We are a different breed. We are not going to be shut down. We have enthusiasm in our hearts. We are turning the tide against you all. Can you feel that, anti-whites? I know right now, because of this leafleting that these heroes did, I know there are going to be a bunch of you watching, new to the work that we are doing here, whether you are watching live or whether you're watching replay. I know that you're watching right now. You're looking right at me. And I have this question for you. Can you feel those winds? How does that feel? Because those are the winds of change. That is the work that we are doing. This is the difference that we are making. You have to confront the ugly reality of who and what you are when you come to the work that we are doing, because we don't decide whether you are good or bad. We allow you to decide whether you are good or bad, and then we just acknowledge your decision. So you can join us in the cause for white well-being and do something truly heroic, the most heroic thing of our age, and save Western civilization, save the world, or you can continue to be a demon from the pits of hell and find nothing in your miserable life, your Muppet miserable life with your wailing cats in the background, other than the tiny bit of sick joy you get from inflicting harm on Western kind and Western civilization. And it will come to haunt you, rest assured, not by us, but by the monsters you let loose in your efforts. Know that, anti-whites. So welcome to all of you. It doesn't matter whether you are white or non-white. It doesn't matter what religion you practice. It doesn't matter what sex you find attractive. If you want to support white well-being, you are welcome here to do so. And we have many of various backgrounds. We should have a lot more because of the number of white people that support non-white well-being. We should have quadruple, sextuple that number or more of non-whites supporting white well-being. And we expect to see them as well. So let's see. What else do we have here? White Flame says we need to make our own hymn. Let's do it. Let's get some songwriters together and make it happen. Seeing Red says, "Hey, old brother, great to see you." What else do we have here? Jump to the bottom of this chat. Oh, and finally, if you want to finish my thoughts on the super chat, super chatting, if you're new, you can super chat by way of the familiar alternative, which is down in the description. You'll be able to find it at 4%. That's the cheapest. 4% by way of the familiar alternative. You can also super chat at similar rates on Cash Me and Ko-fi. So those are both options as well. Now, if you super chat, the reason I really mentioned the super chatting, if you really want to have a question or statement read, then by super chatting is the easiest way to make that happen. It also, of course, is a contribution to the work that we're doing. It's a pat on the back for those on the front line, and we make that money go far. Rest assured, there are some significant things in the works. So I know that chagrins you anti-whites, that there are good people out there in this world, and that they're not millionaires, and they can give $1 here and $1 there and a euro here and a pound there. They can give this little bit of money, and you know that it adds up, not to a lot, but more than enough for people like me to make it go the distance, because I know how to make money work. All right, let's see. Outrageously inoffensive writes, anti-whites, attack one of us, deal with four of us. Then the Westmen got mad for no reason. Yeah, exactly. That's what they say. Thank you for that. Outrageously inoffensive. You can do mirror streaming. I can't, but Poseidon, since he is a sea god, he is able to do so. So let's see. What else do we have? I see Phoenix Fires here. Great to see you. I mentioned Seaver Hamlin. Piers Taylor is here. Great to see you. Zachary Rose. Oh, the great racial consciousness is here. Great to see you. There's Jilly Storm. Wonderful to see you as well. A couple of folks that came from PWR. White Flame, absolutely good points. With the Second Amendment, Americans do not lose the Second Amendment, or we are globally screwed. Exactly. And it's not going to be something, the right to self-defense here in the United States is not going to be easy to take away. Let's see what else we have. I want to make sure we get to some more of these, as people like to say, white pills, all of these positive things. Let's see what's going on gardening channel. Beer Hall Pooch says, Jason, I just brought to your channel 2 newbies interested in tomorrow's chat with Morgoth. Well, fantastic. Thank you so much. It's going to be splendid. Tomorrow at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on my channel, No White Guilt, we are going to be speaking with the great Morgoth, and that is TAP. He is the gentleman on TAP tomorrow. TAP stands for the after party for those who are new. So thank you very much for that, Beer Hall Pooch. Let's get a round of applause for Beer Hall Pooch. That's fantastic. That's what we need to be doing, because, folks, do you remember this? I wanted to mention this during PWR. I didn't get a chance, but do you remember the good old days on YouTube when, if you liked looking at birds on YouTube, you would receive these suggestions? And of course, I'm sure this still applies for those who like to bird watch, but it could be any subject. Do you remember this? If you liked looking at birds, well, then the algorithms would suggest other bird channels. They would suggest channels that talk about maybe working on being a vet for exotic animals, in which you would find birds. They talk about bird food. They would make all of these suggestions that were relevant. It was a great place. Do you remember that? And that's all gone now. If you care about politics, you're never going to see No White Guilt. If you care about what's going on to white people, you're never going to see me. It's never going to be suggested. In fact, they do what they can to prevent you from seeing. So as a result, you have to do what Beer Hall Pooch did. You have to bring new people to the channel, bring new people to this information of redemption. So let me jump over on this other platform really quick so that I can see, this other tab really quick so that I can see if any super chats have come in. Otherwise, how's everybody doing today? Are you all good? Isn't this an exciting day? I'm going to tell you why in just a minute about these flyers. Sandrofan says she could never think of a good poll question. All right, let me just check. Get a drink. Looks like okay. Oh, that was a false alarm. Let's check here, and we're going to get rolling. White Flame says, European news, there are 10 boats, NGO, I guess owned and ran, waiting to enter Italy as soon as the government changes. We did have, and I'm going to grab that. Thank you, Seaver. We did have, regrettably, that's not showing up. I'll have to look over here. I know we had a super chat, I thought from Lisa. So it didn't pop up for some reason on Entropy, which I've been relying on to show me my YouTube super chats as well. So let me just jump over here and I'll go to the backup. That way I won't miss anybody. We just had a super chat from the absolutely lovely Elaine Sabatino, $5. Thank you so very much for the contribution to White Wellbeing. What was written on those flyers, Jason? I got here a few minutes late, so I missed it. Thanks for all you do for our people. No white guilt. Amen. Thank you so much. Well, we're going to talk about it. I don't actually have the verbiage. They were very simple, just exactly how it should be. It should be very simple. The more complicated you make it, the less likely people are going to be paying much attention. The more verbiage, they're not going to go through it. Okay, this looks okay. Here we go. MP super chatted €2. Thank you so much for the kind super chat from across the pond. Is Mark Dice for White Wellbeing? That's a good question. Does anybody have any opinions on whether or not Mr. Dice is for White Wellbeing? We should get him on board if he isn't. Okay, I see Elaine Sabatino's there. Oh, it looks like we have them all, actually. No? Yes, we do. Very good. We haven't missed anyone. Or at least as far as I can tell at the moment. So let's do this. Looking great. Again, a big salute and hello to everybody who's watching on all of these other channels, especially on Poseidon's DLive channel. Thank you all so very much for being here with us, and a big salute and thank you to the Sea God himself for helping to grow our community, which of course is under siege. And why is our community under siege? I talked about this a bit on the last Going Free, and I will just briefly say right now that we are under siege, not simply because we care about white well-being, but because there is no poison pill in the work that we are doing. Look back at the piece I did on the article that was written about the CIA and these new revelations about their activities, their anti-white activities since the 1950s, which I'm going to have to say may or may not be true. The regime might be incorrect in these articles. The documentaries that are going to be produced on TV that I think are maybe have already started, they may or may not be true. We can't say on this channel, and the reason why is because the anti-whites will say, there you go, there's a conspiracy theory, even if their own regime is saying that it is the case, and they will delete the channel. Others could say this and talk about conspiracy theories. They could talk about superiority, inferiority. They could talk about certain groups of non-whites and their activities for good or ill, as long as they then sow a poison pill into that information, they will be allowed to stay. And the poison pill could be something like, but we haven't a chance. There's no way we can win. There's no way we can succeed. If they do that, the content producer need not know that he or she is being permitted to continue to broadcast that poison. Nonetheless, just like an animal being trained, the content producer is being trained, new content producers are being trained, and the audience, everyone watching, is being trained. So we don't say that. Poseidon doesn't say there's no hope. I don't say there's no hope. Jared George doesn't say there's no hope. We have people like the great Zurius. We have these musicians, Syntheside, Jack White, Luke Mason. There's so many, can't name them all. We have so many people who are producing great content that are not sowing a poison pill into the content. In other words, there's no way to win. Be a craven and go hide in a hole in the ground, or you have to resort to some sort of violence. All of those things are the poison pills that will benefit the anti-whites. If you're saying that in your broadcasts, they will happily allow you to keep broadcasting. In fact, they will also allow you to say things that others are not allowed to say that are in breach of YouTube rules, because they want to draw the biggest audience to those people. People will say, well, this content producer, John Smith, is able to talk about this and that very intriguing conspiracy theory, so I'm going to go watch him. And you get there and you receive the message, violence, dig a hole in the ground, or there's no way to win. And you receive it over and over. That content producer, just like the poets, the musicians, the painters, the people producing entertainment, all of these people didn't have to know that the CIA may or may not have, according to the revelations that have been documented and shared by the regime's news, this may or may not have happened, according to them, were being helped 2 and 3 and 4 times removed, making it also impossible for you all and myself to track down who's actually behind this. And then if we do track down who's actually behind it, it's impossible to convey because there are so many removes to it. So that is how we're trained. That is why people like us, Jared George, Mark Collette, that's why we are under attack. It's an endless siege by the anti-whites. We just had a super chat by Zero Talon. Thank you so much. Over on the Familiar Alternative. Super chatting $2. Thank you very much. Just got home. Hope to hear a bit more about the leafleting. It's time to go free. Amen to that. And a big salute, a big attaboy, a big thank you, adulation to the individual or people or groups that did this leafleting, that got the attention of not only the newspapers who were printing the news about this information getting out, but also the television news stations who were discussing the fact that this information has reached the public, and the most upset over it in a way that is very different from the things that have gone before, in a way that is very different. And so this is a very exciting thing. We're going to talk about it. Let me quickly, if you notice, I have a new picture on the wall behind me. We'll rotate it out, and we'll rotate the chess pieces back, at some point, in other pictures. In fact, there's an artist in the community who is painting a magnificent, it's going to be an original painting for me that is at some point going to hang on the wall for a little while for you all to see. A wonderful thing. And he's just doing this out of the goodness of his heart for White Wellbeing. And a big thank you to him as well. This is the cover of a comedy book, comedy novella that I wrote, and just released to the White Positive Sphere, so that introduced it to you all so that you all could see it. I have a copy of it right here. It is in digital form as well, so you don't have to buy a physical copy if you would like one. I will be eventually providing these on NoWhiteGuiltCollectibles.com if you want to get one with a signature on it. There is a video on both No White Guilt and Gardening with NWG. So it doesn't matter where you are in the world, you'll be able to access this video. I know the governments of Europe are stopping much or most of the content of mine from reaching our people in those countries because they know the power of going free. Those anti-whites who are responsible, the highly intelligent, highly educated, paid a lot of money individuals who are responsible for keeping you all docile and compliant and obedient to anti-whiteism, they can look at going free and they can say, my God, don't let the people see it. Don't let the folks see going free. Well, too damn bad. We're going to reach you. You all are going to receive this curative contagion. In fact, the second edition of Going Free is another thing to be excited about. The second edition of Going Free has been finished. It's been sent to the absolutely remarkable editor who is looking at it now. And it will be back to me soon, and we'll put the finishing touches on it, and then it will be provided to you all. It will also be in a digital format so that I can make updates to the second edition, and you all can re-update your version of the copy on your electronic devices so that it can build on itself. That's what we're doing here. So very exciting stuff there that's happening as well. Thank you very much, Zero Talent, for that. Let's see, what do we have? Who do we have over here? I see Fred P. is over there. There's Daughter of Albion is on the Gardening with NWG as well. Who else is over there? Jean-Claude is over there today. Good to see you all. I told you I'd find a way to be able to see your comments during the show. Sifu is there. Marcia is there. Great to see you all. You can actually, I thought that I might have a problem if you tagged me as Gardening with NWG, that I would have a problem seeing it, but I don't have a problem seeing it. If you're watching this Going Free by way of that channel, you can tag me there as Gardening with NWG, and it will light up for me on this other computer. And if you are on No White Guilt, you can tag me as No White Guilt, and I'll be able to see your comments there. Gandalf White the Second. I appreciate your tone and passion. Well, thank you so much for that. Tree of Wisdom is here. Writing, I sometimes see the need to remind people on this side of the internet that other races aren't the enemy. Thankfully, you aren't a cartoon villain like the media would like you to be. Well, precisely. Tree of Wisdom is, ladies and gentlemen, is a non-white person who supports white well-being. When I started the channel, when I started No White Guilt, one of my very first supporters electronically on the channel was a Japanese guy in Japan, young man in university, and a very bright individual as well by tell of the field that he was in. He is still and remains a supporter today. Right, we are, and that's in fact Tree of Wisdom. I see Andre is here. Good to see you. Ghost Rider, that's a great avatar. That is fantastic. It grabs my eye every time. We are going to be talking about this, exactly what you said here in just a moment. Were you right? Thankfully, you aren't a cartoon villain like the media would like you to be. Precisely. That is exactly what we're going to be talking about right here in just a moment. This is the big difference between what we are saying in our service to white well-being and what you see elsewhere in the cause, in the white positive sphere, rather. Okay, if nobody else has any more questions or super chats, we can get into the leafleting and why it is so exciting. Let's see, I'm just reading down a couple of statements here. I don't want to miss anything. Odin Allfather, great name as well. Asks over on Entropy, why don't you organize the people here to collectively go do this? I'm sure plenty of us would happily go distribute flyers. We got to be careful about saying that we are behind, but I will say this, that the website is in very short order, nowhiteguilt.org is in very short order is going to be revamped. And there's going to be an opportunity, there's going to be a page for folks to go on to pull down specific leaflets that we strategize over and conclude will be effective. Of course, I'm always open to ideas. You are brilliant people in our community. So any ideas you all have, I'll look at those as well. But so we'll have on that page, and we will also have dates on potentially, not exactly how I will do this, but I will be speaking with attorneys. But perhaps I'll have a date on there, and on that date, I'll say on this day and date or these weekends, I am going to go post these leaflets at these lawful places where it's, as I say, totally lawful for me to put a leaflet, and on a cork board or whatever at a community center. And if thousands of other people in our community decide to go out on the same day and distribute leaflets, well, that's not anything I have control over. The reason why this is important, that I don't give direction to this, is because the anti-whites will say, well, all those crimes that we are going to charge the individual leaflet, the individuals who actually dropped the leaflets and flyers, we're not going to charge them. We're going to charge you, Jason. So suddenly there would be the knock on the door, and the sheriff would be there, and there would be all of this list of charges many thousands of dollars, I'm sure, in penalties for littering and intimidation and breaking the Timbuktu town ordinance of putting white sheets of paper, in people's green yards or whatever it is. They will find those laws, and because we're dealing with the most unscrupulous, evil people that have ever lived on planet Earth. We are not. This is not just some regular victimizer. This is not just somebody. These people are not coming in with a flag and a fife and a drum with a bayonet and saying you're defeated. That would be one sort of victimizer. These people are noisome. These people are a poison, insidious. There is no honor whatsoever in any shred or any the tiniest bit of their being that has any honor or morality or dignity. They are as criminal as they can possibly be. So that's why we have to protect ourselves against their, just not even a modicum of decency in an anti-white. You all know this. You've dealt with them as well. We have Fornull writing, how can I send slightly confidential info to you, Jason? Your website contact. Yes, increasingly the website contact form is malfunctioning. And so that's going to be fixed with the revamp as well. I don't understand. Perhaps it's been, I don't know how a widget like that can, I guess they can just start going malfunctioning, but whatever is the cause, you can reach out to me on Telegram. If we're already talking, that'll make it easy. You can reach out to me by a direct message on Twitter, and I can get you a email address that is absolutely confidential. So the good anti-whites at Google won't be reading every single thing that passes to me. My Thark just super chatted on Entropy, $10. Thank you so very much, my good friend. A poster of the Matrix scene where Neo stops bullets for the first time, but with Jason as Neo and the bullets as meme pathogens, would kick anti-white ass. That is awesome. Am I crazy, or does it have mimetic potential? I think it has mimetic potential. I could actually, some of you will know this story, and then I'm going to read this. This is magnificent. Let me make sure I didn't miss anybody over here. Beer Hall Putsch says there is still simply no stream from NWG in Europe. That's why we are all gardening. Yes, in Europe, if you are on the gardening channel, you will be able to see the stream. Let everybody else in Europe know that you will be able to see the stream there. And I will let the anti-whites know the moment the governments begin to censor that, I will be someplace else where your populations will be able to see me. So go to hell, every one of you. This won't stop. We are not going to stop until we recapture our destiny. Know that. I think this has great potential. I'll tell the quick story. This is many years ago. I don't go to Starbucks anymore, except on a very rare occasion. But many years ago, I had parked. I was working on the hill, and it was maybe it was fall, and I was in a suit. I had my trench coat on, black trench coat, had my glasses on, the same pair actually I've had for so many years that you see in my videos where I'm driving. At least I believe it was those. Anyhow, and I got out of the car and I was walking across the parking lot toward the Starbucks, and the entire wall of the Starbucks was giant windows. And the people were all already, or there were a number of people already looking out toward the parking lot, because there were all of these crows. I don't know. Maybe 10 crows, maybe 8 or 12 crows. And right in the middle. And I just walked right through them. And as I walked right through them, they started running away with the same direction I was going, toward the Starbucks, and took to flight, and then flew directly at these windows, and then flew up in the air up over the building. And when I got inside, all of these people were looking at me strangely. And I said to the guy, that I think 2 or 3 workers of the Starbucks, they were looking at me with this queer look on their face as well. And I said, what is it? And they said, man, you just look like you walked right out of the Matrix. With these, you got the trench coat on, you got the glasses, and these crows just flew at the windows. I bet it was quite the spectacle. I wish that had been recorded, but I don't guess it was. Or if it was, it's been lost by now. But maybe there would be great mimetic potential for that. Perhaps there's an artist that will put something like that together. Simon Coates says, remember that if you print flyers, mini-color lasers, and inkjets, printers a hidden code on the paper. Print model, serial number. Indeed, well, all modern printers, as far as I know, are putting things like these serial numbers hidden on the paper. Now, this is not important unless you are putting something on the document that is actually against the law, some sort of blatant, you can fill in the blank. I'm not going to do it, and I can't, because they'll just shut the channel down just for describing it. So I would not worry about that as far as them finding the paper, taking the leaflet, pulling the secret code off of it, and then going through homes looking for the printers with the secret code. It's true. Don't, Simon's absolutely right. So don't put anything on a leaflet that is actually illegal. What these person or great people did, and we're going to talk about it right now, is fantastic. So, as I said, late last night, the great Miss Samantha Fox provided me a wonderful pleasure by reaching out to me and asking if I had heard, or just congratulating me about these leaflets being distributed in Indiana and Illinois. And I didn't know what she was talking about. So she said, didn't you see Red Ice, the great Henrik and Lana, on their Weekend Warrior? You have to be a member to watch this, ladies and gentlemen. I strongly encourage, if you are not a member, to become a member. They deserve your support, and they provide entertaining show with packed full of useful information. So a salute to Lana and Henrik for all the work that they do for White Wellbeing. I thank you. This community thanks you. I'm a member, and I am terribly busy, as you all know. A big apology to everybody. I'm actually catching up, since the link to the website has been steadily for communicating with me, has steadily been functioning increasingly in an erratic way, and not sending your emails to me. I've actually been catching up. So I am catching up on all of the messages that you all sent by way of email, by way of direct message, Telegram, Instagram. I'm going to be getting to all of these. I value every one of you immensely. I value your opinions, your intelligence, your education, your insight, your contributions. And that's why we're going to win, because there is no leader here that is the one that everybody looks up to, and just whatever he or she pontificates. We are a family. We are that wagon train, and we rely on each other, each one of us having different talents and abilities. And when a specific talent or ability is called on by God, we call the person who is best at that particular thing to step forward. And in every case, he or she has, and we've made it happen. So some of the best are Lana and Henrik at doing what they do. Doesn't get much better than what they provide. I missed, though, because of how busy I am, this particular episode of Weekend Warrior, and Samantha Fox told me where in the show roughly it was. I went and found it and watched, and my heart absolutely sang, ladies and gentlemen. It sang for the great deed done by this individual or individuals. Oh, let me get a drink for a moment. I'm parched. I was on, for 2 hours with Mark and Styx and Patrick. Machiavellius Sucks is here. Great to see you. I'm seeing Seaver Hamlin in both chats. 2 places at one time. They're gonna take you to the atom collider and study you, my friend. Xandrophan is here. The Matrix, or maybe a modern wizard. Well, and that's what when it came to the Matrix, it was funny because people would always say when I was dressed thus on the hill, I would very often get told, well, you look like Neo, or you look like Smith. It was always this back and forth. You look like Neo, you look like Smith. I've seen those movies. They were good movies, but I don't know them as well. Perhaps I should watch them again. I don't know them as well as others do. White Flames is, I guess it's have to go. Never stop the message. See you next stream. Thank you. Thank you, brother. Okay. Let's see. I don't think we've missed anybody. And if my fabulous mods could let me know if I did miss any super chats. That's the one thing I never want to miss is when. Here we go. I know how hard it is to come by $1. I have worked. I grew up in a blue collar. We're gonna be having Morgoth on, and of course he's a working class guy. And I grew up in a blue collar environment, working class father. I started going with my father on side jobs at roughly 9 years old, and he would come home from work. We would practice whatever sport was in season, and then not every night, but we would go out on side jobs into the night, come home, go to sleep. So into my adulthood, I've worked blue collar and white collar jobs. In fact, I've held blue collar and white collar jobs at the same time, 2 jobs at once. So I know what it means to actually work for a living and how hard it is to come by $1. So when folks give financially, speaking specifically about that, I know what it means to part with $1. I have been in that. I'm sure many of you have been in the same scenario where you calculate, okay, I make this much an hour, and the CFO or the CEO of the company I work for makes this much a year. He makes or she makes as much as I make. Him working for an hour, her working for an hour, makes as much as I make in 3 months of my hard labor, and that person is not providing that much more value to the company. So that's Bravo Sierra, where you have a lot of these people who will say, oh no, they deserve these colossal salaries because that's how much value they're providing. Go to hell. They're not providing 50,000 times the value as the people who are producing the products or whatever. That's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous. No, what they do is they use their power to continue to elevate and increase their salaries. And then they go out and they lobby against their own people to justify their wealth and privileges. That's what ends up happening. Okay, let's roll. So I'm just looking at my notes because I have some raw notes here. Again, if you all have any questions or comments, you can tag me as Gardening with NWG on that channel. Tag me as No White Guilt on this channel. And of course, the platforms that you can super chat on. And also you can ask questions over on Entropy as well. And I'll be taking another look at those. I think we have a record-breaking 20 people on Entropy today. That's fantastic. Great to see you all there. So let's see. So what happened? That's the first thing. What happened? So an unknown number of hero or heroes distributed leaflets that read, "No white guilt." That's what it said across. So Lisa was asking, Lisa P., thank you for being here, by the way, and asking such a pertinent question. What were on the leaflets? Well, at the top of the leaflets, it said in bold, "No white guilt." Extremely important. I'm going to tell you why that's extremely important. Beneath this header, it said, these leaflets said something like, websites that oppose anti-whiteism, using the correct word, anti-whiteism, not anti-whiteness. Do not use an anti-white word to describe us. We are not for whiteness. That sounds like an infection you get in your armpit. And not only that, but the anti-whites created it, and they have defined it to mean something very different than you want it to mean. So who owns that word then? They own that word. And if you decide that you're going to use that word whiteness, that ugly, just hideous word, you are going to get into an argument with someone about what whiteness means, rather than in a discussion that helps them to go free. Does that make sense? What are you going to spend your time on? Everyone is going to understand anti is opposed, white is the white race, Western kind, and ism as a theory, as an applied theory, as a set of actions. Everybody will get that. You won't have to explain it. They'll be able to put it together in their head. I've done this hundreds, literally hundreds of times with people who were new to the word, people who are new to the concept. Don't get bogged down in anti-whiteness. They will ask you, or they will advise you just to go to the doctor because there are creams for that. So it said channels that oppose anti-whiteism. It gave my channel, and then it gave some other channel below that, and then it was what was the next line? Oh, it was something like channels that speak out against anti-whites. Very good. Exactly. That is naming our victimizers, rather than us naming a set of people that then fits the anti-white narrative. This is extremely important. Whatever you do, don't zone out at the moment. Do not zone out. This is very important, what I'm sharing with you about how we perceive the world. It's extremely important, because this is why everybody else goes wrong in the white positive sphere, and why we are going and have been going right. Okay, so let's see here. What I have? I've already talked about don't admit to it and the reasons for that. Talked about ways that you can admit to coming across a leaflet posted somewhere, and isn't it a one or a sticker, and or a place where you can post a leaflet that's totally lawful, with completely lawful and innocent language. Oh, okay. So I want to specifically also say, even if I haven't made it clear enough, because I know the townships, the city, the DA of these cities, that they will specifically be watching this channel now for what I'm saying, because they're looking for that opportunity to file charges. And I'm going to say specifically to you all, I have no idea who did this. If it's a person, people, or groups, I have no idea. I did not instruct anybody. There is no use in trying to draw a connection between me and them. Anyone can make these leaflets. Anyone can make these flyers. I have absolutely, without question, not conspired with or talked with anybody about do this on this day with this flyer or this verb. I haven't done any of that. So don't bother. That is an absolute fact. And if you want to file charges, you're just going to look like a fool. So another big salute to Red Ice, the Weekend Warrior show, because they brought this. I don't know. Perhaps let me just ask you all for the future, if you all come across something that is, say, using the lexicon of white well-being, or the dialectics, or leafleting, or something of this nature, don't assume, or it's on the news, don't assume that I already know. Reach out to me somehow and let me know. I'm sure people saw this Weekend Warrior and they assumed, well, surely Jason knows. And I didn't. If it wasn't for Samantha Fox, she was the only one who reached out to me. If it wasn't for her, then I would not have even known that this had happened. And this would have been terrible, because I always want to acknowledge the heroes who are doing the hard work, the people who are out there making things happen. A good person or people or groups went out with their time, their money, their ingenuity, their initiative, and they made this happen. And I'm sure if it was one person or many, that there was, especially if it was the first time, there was some measure of fear involved. Why a measure in fear? Because we see that the anti-whites socially lynch those who are heretical to anti-whiteism. They socially lynch you if you are not anti-white enough, if you are a heretic. They drag you before anti-white tribunals at your work and universities, community organizations, when you are heretical, when you are not anti-white enough. They talk about the leaflets, totally lawful. And these news reports I'll mention, they all say, if you see this on this, what they all say on the news and the newspapers, if you see these, call the police, as though a crime had been committed. This is the pretense of law to intimidate you out of engaging in free speech. Do not allow them to create this illusion that engaging in free speech is illegal if you are heretical or if your speech is heretical. Absolutely do not allow them to do that, because then it is you who are censoring yourself. Never sell yourself short. So I just saw looks like Fred, Propaganda TV says whiteness all the time. I'm not watching him anymore. Okay, Fred. Well, maybe Propaganda Ronnie will give up using whiteness. And any of you who use it, I strongly encourage you. I don't tell anybody what to do, but for the success and welfare of our people and the success of going free, I will advise you, I will admonish you to use certain verbiage, certain dialectics, because they are going to work, like a doctor providing medicine. Now, as a doctor, a doctor can't order you to take penicillin, but he can say, I'm writing you a prescription, and then it's up to you whether or not you are going to use, you're going to fill that prescription and use those pills. It is up to you. So you can intelligently fill that prescription and use these pills and start using anti-whiteism and chuck this anti-whiteness, put it under the Lotrimin cream or whatever it needs to get rid of it. Don't use it anymore. It is ugly, and it is their word. It not only means white people, it means oppression by white people. There are many tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of documents, essays that have been written, books that have been written, etc., by anti-whites for decades now that define whiteness as white people and oppression by white people. So when you say that we support whiteness, not only are you saying that you support something that sounds really dumb, but you're saying you support oppressing non-white people. I mean, good God. We're smarter than this. So folks here are not gonna say something so silly. And for those who are learning of it for the first time, you're not blamed for having used whiteness in the past. You don't know until you learn. This is not the kind of place like where you show up at the school and where people who are insecure and they say, it was great. Actually, Mark gave this analogy a couple of weeks ago. So what do you mean? You don't already know trigonometry? What's the matter with you? Are you some kind of an idiot? No, you have to learn something for the first time. So when you show up, if you don't know you're using the wrong thing, okay, that's fine. Now you can know what is the right thing to use, what will empower you, and then you can make the decision to use the right thing. Nothing held against someone who didn't know until they know. I am not insecure in the slightest, in case you all haven't noticed. So I am not going to hold someone's head underwater because they didn't know something before they knew it. In fact, I will defend you. I was the guy. I'll just tell you, a father came to my father years ago when I was in junior high school. You all know about when I was in junior high school. And that's when I started fighting for our people, oratorically and physically. How was I fighting? I wasn't going out looking for fights. I was physically assaulted by non-white students who were bused to our school from bad areas. And that's the only reason why there was any fighting. I never wanted to be in a fight. A real man does all he can to avert a fight, to get away from a fight, and then he only fights when there is no alternative. And when it comes to the no way to escape, there's no alternative, he fights fast and he fights to win. That's it. But a father came to my father and said, I really want to thank you for your son standing up for my son. And my dad said, What are you talking about? I don't know what happened. And he said, well, my son is, you know, more of an intellectual type. He's the guy didn't say, I'm sure the father didn't say this, but the boy was kind of a chubby, muscleless, intellectual type, and he was getting bullied. I liked him. I had friends in every sphere virtually, and so the intellectuals as well as the jocks and everybody else. And I saw him get bullied. So this father says, I really want to thank you, because Jason, your son, told these bullies and told my son, I won't say his name, we'll say his name is, I almost just said his real name. We'll say his name is Charlie. Told Charlie to tell everyone, and Jason told the bullies, that if they ever bully him again, that Jason would beat the hell out of them. So I was the guy, I didn't have to fight anybody, by the way, because the bullying of him immediately stopped. It was by insecure losers that bullied him. He had a talent for music as well, and they were probably jealous of that. So and you know, because he was also kind of awkward, but they bullied him for that, and I stepped between him and those bullies. So I'm the guy who, ever since then, is going to step between the person being bullied and the bullies. And in this case, the bullies are the anti-whites, without question. So that is something to say that this is a character trait of those in service to white well-being. Those are the kind of people that are attracted to this service. That is all of us here. We are all the kind of person who will stand up for the bullied person, all the kind of person who will stand up for the little guy. Especially, as we say here in the States, I don't know if it fits elsewhere, and you can tell me, folks over in Europe, in the US, or at least in the southern US, little guys, or little guy is a colloquialism often for babies, children, toddlers of both sexes. So we also stand up for those little guys, most of all. So here's the thing that's really exciting. We have, let me read first. We have Casual Cruising, just super chatted $5. Thank you so much for the kind super chat. Speaking of Telegram, could you check your inbox? Thanks. I will indeed. In fact, let me make a note, my good friend. Also writing, I also wish the animal rescue spouses the best of good luck, and to see them focus on nothing but positive messages. Our strength is in our organic grassroots, not harsh words against non-whites. Indeed. Very well written. Thank you for the super chat and the good words, and I will check Telegram for your message. Watch Rider, we men over in Scotland is used over the pond. Really, is that right? We men for little boys and little girls. That's fantastic. That's really sweet. Maybe I'll use that. I'll have to tell some others about that as well, because that's really cute. Seaver Hamlin wrote, I feel strongly that those that use goy, shekels, etc., need to quit using the tribe's terms, even ironically. Well, I don't use, and you'll notice, I never use goy or goyim or any of these hideous words that a particular group of people came up with for those who are not in their particular group. And I also don't call myself a Gentile for the same reason, and you all should consider doing the same. If you are a Gentile, you are a character in someone else's story. So I am not a Jew, and I am not a Gentile. I am in my story, the story of Western kind. There is our people, and there is everyone else out there in the world. Just like for the Jewish people, there is their people and everyone else out there in the world. Now, there happens to be a very ugly word. I'm not going to say what it means, because maybe it means something for you YouTube censors out there. Maybe it means something wonderful. Maybe it means that all of those people outside everywhere they step, flowers grow. I'm not going to say one way or the other because we all know what the YouTube censors will do to me. But yeah, I don't use that verbiage because that's not the language of Western kind. But I get how some who are being irreverent use it. And if they want to use it in an irreverent way, not for going free, and just to get a chuckle someplace else, then more power to them. Tiger Fox says you can find a July news story about this if you Google leaflets, Illinois, Indiana. The news report is absolutely ridiculous. Well, I should pull that up while we're live. Or can one of my mods find this that Tiger Fox is talking about? And so I can just drop it in the live chat so I can just click on the link. I don't want to keep folks waiting. We're having a great day. This is absolutely so exciting. And all of you in Europe, you're at least 5 hours ahead. A big salute to all of you for staying up with us. Let me see, who else do we have there? We have Bob. We have a Sneezana. And thank you for being here. Sneezana, you were with us earlier on PWR when I was shirtless with a leather jacket on and a spoon in my coffee cup. Johnny Scythe is here. Great to see you. Johnny made a spectacular video that we're going to be premiering on my channel, No White Guilt, and we will broadcast that, live stream that to all of the other platforms soon in the coming week or 2 weeks, 3 weeks at most. Magnificent video. It's going to land well on our people. Another way, just another effort, magnificent effort. And here, I'm going to also want to say this. I see Simon JJ is here. Dennis is here. Jackie is here. Great to see you. I was thinking the other day about all of you good people who are making music, who are making videos, who are writing books, who are creating, white well-being poetry. Well-being, as we call it in our community, ladies and gentlemen, well-being poetry, well-being music, well-being art, well-being literature, well-being fiction, well-being nonfiction. Use that verbiage. It is ours. We have wrapped our arms around it. We possess white being. It is all ours. There'll be well-being parades. They're ours. There'll be well-being symposium. They are ours. All right. So do these things. Now, for all of those folks who are doing these things, using this verbiage and winning as we won in this leaflet drop magnificently. And for the folks who are also supporting financially, I thought to myself, well, I love and cherish everybody in this community, but for those who are doing more or have moved from the stage, let's say this, I expect that all of you will participate. You are not members of anything. You are participants. In the service to white well-being, we are participants. We are not on the bleachers. We are not watching a game before us. So at some point, though, you're in training, and you need to go free. You need to learn, and then at some point, you transition into. You continue to go free your whole life. There's no gone free, period. You're always going free, but at some point, you transition into action of some sort, talking to your friends and family and strangers. Dropping leaflets, making music, etc. And for those folks who have transitioned over to more participation than just the education and the personal development and the personal growth, which you all will see. And I want to do some more of these streams where we talk about some of the real flowering that's taking place. And a lot of our participants in this community, now that they have started going free, you really need to see these messages. I feel like I have to stream. If I didn't have to work, I would just be doing this 24/7 and we'd be talking about all of it. But I thought, what could I give them? How could I give them something, a pat on the back from me, more than just the verbiage, asking you all to give a round of digital applause or raucous emojis, rowdy emojis for these folks. What else could we do? And and other content producers will produce a, a private video or something here. It's just the same. They're just doing the same stuff. But one thing that I've had asked, I say repeatedly, it's recurrently, it's been asked is, what does my workstation look like? You all have heard me talk about being surrounded with monitors, and you can, pardon me, you can see behind me, but you have no idea what all this looks like. So I think what I'm going to do is, for those who are participating more actively, and whatever that might be, and whether it be writing music or poetry or paintings or giving financially, I will provide a photograph. I know it's not much, but at least it's a little something. It's the way, it's all we can do, really. Unfortunately, I'm not going to have a camera crew follow me around, walking around the house and eating my breakfast or something. Or maybe one of these days I will. I don't know. But at least this is a start. So that's what I'm going to do. And then maybe for everybody, a blurry version or something. But we're going to do something in return for everybody, as small as it might be. Just a token of thanks is all I can really, is if I were well healed, I would, I almost said something. I was going to give a juxtaposition, but I decided not to do that. But I would be able to do more. So I hope nobody figured out what that juxtaposition was, because that was going to be lewd. Okay, let's see what. Okay, we got casual, and a big thank you to everybody who's signing up on Gardening with NWG live right now, who are doing it. I can see that happening, and a big thank you to everybody who has signed up to Discipline with NWG. As I said last week on Tap, it is not a fetish channel, unless that works for you. Okay. Let's get into this. The anti-whites are absolutely losing their minds, saying things like hate is invading our community because of these leaflets. They're saying hate is invading the community. This has got to go in the trash. This is garbage. This is absolutely, and the reason why they're doing this, it immediately struck me. It's because of the lesson. You notice when, in the past, when there are things like, and in almost every case, this is a hush or a hate hoax, rather. We find these leaflets from some Nazi group where the swastika is drawn backwards or something of this nature, or the Ku Klux Klan, and then that's even spelled wrong or something of this nature. And they're saying these things that absolutely support and bolster the anti-white narrative. The folks, you'll notice, and I've been, as I say, been doing this for a long time, news reporters and people at out in the community that they choose to interview and show you. Because, by the way, they ask community members what they think about the leaflets, who say, doesn't bother me at all, it's free speech, right? And then you never see those. They might have to go through 20 interviews before they get the one where it's an anti-white psychotic muppet who goes crazy over it. And the first thing that occurred to me when these people were going loony over a leaflet that says no white guilt is Hamlet's how does it go? The lady doth protest too much, methinks. So there's a reason for that. There's a reason for that. Let's get into some of these words that they used. They used words like chilling. They used words disturbing. They said it was a plastic bag with a small weight put in their yards, and they called the police. The police department said they received at this one town 20 phone calls. I'm sure that's a lie as well, but received, I think they said 15 to 20 to be exact. I was taking these notes in a hurry, ladies and gentlemen. So the lady doth protest too much, methinks. So Henrik and Lana actually demonstrated. Now they didn't specifically talk about me or the lexicon or the dialectics on the show, but they demonstrated the power of the lexicon and the dialectics with their reaction. So if you are able to if you're a member and of the Red Eyes community and you can watch this, go and watch their reaction and see if you don't have the discernment to see the difference between how Henrik and Lana behave when they're talking about anything else, when it comes to this is outrageous that the anti-whites object to this, and how they behave when they talk about the outrage that the anti-whites object to no white guilt, white well-being. If you have discernment, you will see a fundamental difference on their faces. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we have put our fingers on the nerve of the story. We have changed things. Henrik and Lana are seeing when they are responding with that fundamental difference in their voices, in their faces, this disbelief, they are responding to the power that they can feel that these words wield over the narrative. That is why there is a fundamental difference. Lana actually says telling white people to feel guilty is hating white people. That is exactly what it does. This is what I have been trying to get people to do in the white positive sphere for years. Now then Henrik says, and this is where we're going to draw a dichotomy. Always room for growth for all of us. Myself, Henrik, Lana, you all, always room for growth. Henrik, though, says it is, quote, is an extension of it's okay to be white. It is not an extension of it's okay to be white. And I want to ask you all, if you all can tell me why there is a fundamental difference between it's okay to be white and no white guilt. Does anybody know? Can anybody say? Stingray is here over on Gardening with NWG. Great to see you. The Ethno-Nationalist Network is here over there. Blitz is here. Great to see you. BS is here over on that channel. Great to see you here. I see Lisa P is here. Alleluia is here. Of course, Mrs. Horst is here. Now you super chatted, so let's get to that super chat. Great, sterling member of our community, Mrs. Horst. Super chatting $9.99. They happens to be the turned over of number of our guest on PWR earlier, Styx Hexenhammer 666. Mrs. Horst super chatting $9.99. Being a stay-home mother of 9 children and seeing my husband bust his butt day and night. 9. God bless you. Seeing my husband bust his butt day and night. I appreciate your words on the dollar. Excited for information you'll be sharing today. Amen. God bless you. God bless your husband. Rearing these children, all of these lovely children. I know their spirits will be pure. That is a pristine home that you have there, Mrs. Horst. Thank you for being a member of, participant of our community. We also had Pamela's super chat. Again, $9.99. Thank you so much as well for your investment in the cause of white well-being. Hello, everyone. Red Ice member here, taking a break from firewood chores. Well, if you're cutting up firewood, I know it's going to be smelling wonderful at your home. There's nothing like the good smell of the right type of burning wood in the house. Sifu says to Tim Hayes, no white guilt is unapologetic and uncompromising. That's absolutely right. Sterling Price is here. Great to see you. Canadian Longboarder is here. Hello. Lapis is here. Great to see you. Tree of Wisdom jumps in with his thought. One is passive and the other is active. You're getting there. You're getting there. Headed in the right direction of the fundamental difference. George is here. Great to see you. Watch Rider. Ehrlich is here. Dul is here. And again, Racial Consciousness is still with us. Great to see you. A Twitter titan, Racial Consciousness, ladies and gentlemen. If you don't follow him on Twitter, be sure that you do. Always sharing information that is beneficial to white well-being. A star in our community. I thought I saw, and perhaps I did see Poseidon. Poseidon says, these people are so pathetic, talking about the folks that responded thus. They're so pathetic, they are shocked that we are not ashamed for our DNA. Well, exactly. Doomer is here. Good to see you. Birmingham. Donning. Olivia. Awkward Saxon. I wonder what makes you awkward. Good to see you, though. Steampunk is here. I was in a store a couple of months back where they had a steampunk section. Chain Reaction, great to see you. Twitter's Rachel Constance says about Twitter that we went from calling him a colossus to a titan. Glorious. It's much appreciated. Well, the appreciation runs both ways. Josh Randall is here. Great to see you. Okay, Ursa Major is here. So let's see. What else do we have of these folks? Because I think maybe I'll set this question aside for us to think about. What is the real difference between, and I see we've been going for an hour and a half, and we don't want to go a lot longer, but we wanted this to be hard-hitting. We set it aside to think about it. What is the real fundamental difference between it's okay to be white, the message, it's okay to be white, and the message, no white guilt? There's a significant difference. So we had on this video that Red Eye shows, absolutely splendid. You all will love this. There's this member of the community. I won't say his last name. His first name is Chance, and he is this absolutely lobotomized anti-white Muppet. He cannot call to mind any words. He is thinking desperately about the anti-white narrative. What can I say? What can I say that is in line with the anti-white narrative? But there's something that is preventing him from otherwise articulating himself in the way that he is accustomed, ladies and gentlemen. This Chance is not normally a lobotomized Muppet, I assure you. I assure you in other circumstances, he is able to, maybe not eloquently, but directly state his anti-white positions. But there was something new to this. This flyer had an effect on him that practically lobotomized this imbecile and made it impossible for him, or made it difficult for him, to articulate the anti-white narrative. You have to watch it to truly witness what it does to a person. This is the look I have seen on people's faces. This is the anti-whites crumbling before this dialectic, before this lexicon. There is a reason for this. It's the fundamental difference that I'm trying to share with you. They then, on the news report that Red Eye shares, they go to some sandwich shop, which is very telling, because they go to the sandwich shop and they give you this video of the sandwich shop, and it is almost 100% non-white. And what do we say here in service to white well-being? That diverse means no or nearly no white people. That's what it means for anti-whites. That tells you all you need to know about their objectives, what they call good and what they call bad. So they say of the sandwich shop how diverse it is. It's not in the least bit diverse. There are almost no white people there. They also talked about putting up these signs that hate has no home here. And I want to tell you all the meme curative for this. Just like I shared a couple, what was it, on a tweet that I shared the other day, which by the way is doing very well for me, tweeting, being retweeted. If you haven't retweeted it and liked it, please do go to my Twitter and No White Guilt NWG and like and retweet this tweet, because it's about Bernie Sanders, and he's telling this anti-white non-white, because it's not just, I'm sure that there were non-white people in this audience. There must have been, that thought what he was saying was actually despicable, that knew exactly what he was saying. There must have been. But for many of them, regrettably, they were anti-white. And Sanders is playing to the crowd, saying what he believes in his anti-white, blackest of all hearts, that they need to declare war on racism and white supremacy. Well, if you observe what the anti-whites call racism and white supremacy. This verbiage of white dispossession, this verbiage of the infliction of harm on Western kind. If you observe what they use those words and phrases for, it is all white people who don't hate white people. So all white people who are not anti-white are the folks that Sanders and this audience are saying that we as a government, that this country has to declare war on. And haven't they demonstrated that in all of their deeds? Don't they demonstrate it regularly for us? That if you are white and not anti-white, then you are, fill in the expletive, fill in all of the synonyms, what they call synonyms for the word evil. This is no different than any other religion. And that's why I say that we are treated like heretics, because we're not anti-white enough. Of course, anti-white at all, but you need to be very anti-white to not be treated as a heretic. So that's what they're saying. We're declaring war. So when you see these signs that say hate has no home here, when you see the word hate, hate stands for white people who are not anti-white. So you can say this to yourself. You can say this to your interlocutor, that when you see a sign that says hate has no home here, what the sign really reads is that white people have no home here. Because if you're white and you're anti-white, your mission and purpose, your objective, the thing you find joy in, is inflicting harm on our kind and our civilization. They are not one of us. I don't care what their color of their skin or eyes or hair is. I don't care what their DNA results say. If you are anti-white, you are not one of us. The anti-whites know this very well. Rest assured. They are more than happy to welcome every white person who is anti-white. But if you care at all for our well-being, the well-being of our children, the wee lads, if you care at all for them, then hate white people who aren't anti-white have no home here. So that's your meme curative when it comes to thinking about this and having conversations with friends, family, and strangers. And, you know, if you really want to set them off, if it's really an anti-white person, or you really want to say something that will grab attention, just say, well, you're going to concentrate on keeping anti-whites out of your neighborhood by putting out a sign that says pedophilia has no home here. That'll really get their attention, because they defend such individuals, anti-whites do. For God's sakes, they defend butchering babies with heartbeats in the wombs of their mothers and then selling their baby parts. Or maybe I should say, it's rumored that they do that. I don't know that they actually do that, because if the anti-whites at YouTube say that it's a conspiracy theory, then I'll lose my channel. So I believe whatever you all at YouTube believe. If that's not actually happening, if that hasn't actually been videotaped, if it's not actually on the internet, then it must not be true. So if whistleblowers haven't come forward, if all of that hasn't actually happened, then it must not be true. It must be a conspiracy theory. And then we here on this channel, yours truly, do not believe in it. So we do not believe in conspiracy theories. We believe everything that the anti-whites at YouTube want us to believe. So, of course, I mentioned the reporter, this anti-white reporter, absolutely cucked the loser son of a bitch, said this is going to go in the trash. And he was shaking with rage. I apologize for my language, ladies and gentlemen. He was like shaking with rage over it. Again, the lady doth protest too much, methinks. He wouldn't be shaking if it had a cartoon of a Klansman on it. He wouldn't be shaking with that frustration and that anger. What is frustrating and angering him is that there is something he can't move beyond, something he's being forced to see by the title on that document. Something that he is being forced to look at, a mirror in his own mind that he is being forced to look into and see what he truly is. That is what has him so mad. That is what has this Chase in becoming a stuttering imbecile, is looking into that mirror. You look into the face of Chase in that interview. You look into his face and see if in his mind's eye, as he's talking, he's not seeing a reflection of something hideous. Himself. For the first time. Now you all might be coming to the truth that I'm going to reveal about this lexicon, these dialectics. The newspaper in one of these towns actually complained. This is brilliant. They complained to their readers that these flyers were advocating white well-being. The people who made these flyers, brilliant. They are brilliant. A big hats off to you all. The authors of these anti-white screeds, these typists in these newspapers, were foaming at the mouth in anger that these leaflets opposed anti-whiteism. Are you getting it? Do you have enough discernment to start seeing this thread? The newspaper's editor, pretending to be an editor, really an anti-white propagandist working for the paper, was effusively sickened with frustration over the fact that the distributor and author of the leaflet opposes white erasure. Is it beginning to land on you? So the first thing you have to understand, ladies and gentlemen, this is the most important thing. And this will be something, I see we're at 1 hour and just 45 minutes roughly. This is something we might talk about this coming Sunday. This movie, I don't even know that I can say the name. It's Why Don't We Murder More? How far can I go? Why don't we murder more? And then there's a group of people there, a name of a group of people there. And it's not a non-white group of people. Okay. So there's this movie that came out, and I was having a discussion with someone in the sphere who is a bright person. And that individual shared a thought with me that immediately told me that that person wasn't quite understanding what is taking place in the minds of the people, in your mind, in my mind, in everyone's minds. Life is no more, our understanding of the world beyond our homes is no more than a story. It is a narrative. For the West, because the anti-whites control the means of communication, they control the news and entertainment media. They dominate those fields and control. They dominate those fields utterly. Governance, etc. Because they dominate these areas, universities, they are able to disseminate what we refer to in Going Free as the anti-white narrative. This is a story. When I was in, if you read Crucible in my book, Born Guilty, the book that is on my desk right here, Crucible is a book inside, a nonfiction book about my time in junior high school, 11 to 13 years of age, roughly. This is something I told my peers, and I will relate it again to you all, and that is that this is not something that we can atone for. This is the 9 words that we talk about. Perhaps one of the mods can put the 9 words in the chat for me, or both chats for me. This is not something that we as a people can atone for. It is a storyline in which we, Western kind, are the bad guys. So in my age and where I was in life, I likened it to my peers at that moment as, you know, we who are at this junior high school right now, we are the bad guys in this story. The white kids who were here before us were the bad guys in this story. And the white kids after us will be the bad guys in this story. And guess what? The white kids at that same junior high school today are still the bad guys in that story. They are nowhere closer to making amends or atoning for something they didn't do to people who were not victimized than we were while we were there, or to the white kids that were there before I was there, or to the white kids that will be there 10 years from now if this continues. Nowhere closer. It is a storyline. It is a storyline. It is the anti-white narrative. So what's happening out in the real world? the anti-whites take events from the real world and they do one of two things. They bury them underfoot because they contradict the anti-white narrative, or they embellish them and write them in the sky because they confirm the anti-white narrative. Does this make sense? So the conflict I was having with the individual who I helped to the truth was that person thought that this maker of this horrific movie, this horrific anti-white movie, was seeing this rise in white well-being across the West when he said, oh, this rise in, and then the anti-white slur, white supremacy. We should have a movie like this because of the rise in white supremacy. Ladies and gentlemen, there would not need to be a rise in folks caring about white well-being. In fact, it could be diminishing. And he would still say there is a rise in white supremacy. Why? Because that is the story. That is the story that he and everyone else is living by. That story doesn't change based on reality. It is either bolstered or hidden by the things that happen in reality. There is forever, as long as the anti-whites are in charge, as long as they continue to decide for you and I what reality is and what reality isn't, there will eternally be a rise in white supremacy. There will eternally be an incline in the use of racial slurs. There will eternally be an effort that's on the movement to take the Western countries into these World War II scenarios or what have you. It is part of the story. It never goes away. Your whole life, it's not going to go away or change. See it now for what it is. And so that is what's happening with these people when they receive these leaflets. They are seeing the world as a story, as an anti-white narrative. So I might be talking about that more this coming Sunday because it's very important. People should also know about this hellish movie. Everyone who cares in the anti-white narrative, and here's where we're going to get to the fulcrum of this. And you guys, if you haven't yet, you're going to have this epiphanic moment. It's going to hit you, and you're going to suddenly say, my God. If it hasn't already happened, you're going to say, my God, that's it. We are characters in this anti-white narrative, ladies and gentlemen. You are, I am, everyone who cares about white well-being is reduced to this flat, two-dimensional character, the antagonist, the bad guy, the baddie, as they say in the UK. You are the evildoer. You are the bad guy in the story. When someone says it's okay to be white, nothing changes for who you are. Now, in your head, you are a living person. You have a life. You have children. You have hopes. You have sadness. You have hurts. You have goals. You have troubles. You have conflicts. You have successes. You are a fully rounded, three-dimensional being, and you care about white well-being. But to the rest of the world, when you articulate concern for our people, for our destiny, for our children, you in their minds are no longer a three-dimensional person with all of that and so much more, a history and etc. You're none of that anymore. You are now a flat character in a terrible story that has a sanguinary end for us. That is what you become. And when you say it's okay to be white, you are just that same flat, two-dimensional character, evil character, who is now trying to slip something past people with some evil verbiage, a little verbal trickery, and trying to slip it past. What does this mean for the average person in the population and the anti-whites, whether in the population or in the media. What it means is, this is what it means. They can continue to play the role of the virtuous conqueror of that antagonist in that story. When they virtue signal, when really it's villainy signal, which is what they're doing. When they are virtue signaling by anti-white standards, they are seeing themselves in their own minds as great heroes. They are taking you, that flat two-dimensional character, down, even when you have said something clever to try to fool the people by saying it's okay to be white. Now, what happens when you say no white guilt? The moment you say no white guilt, you have refielded and refocused their thoughts on their own villainy. Do you get it? The moment you say no white guilt, they have to think about why you should be victimized with white guilt. And when they think about that you should be villainized and victimized with white guilt, they can't see themselves as the hero striking down the villain in the anti-white narrative. That is shattered for them. The story falls to pieces at their feet. And that is what you see in the eyes of that lobotomized Chase, is his inability to confront himself. He sees in that mirror himself now as the inflictor of injury. No, you should feel white guilt. He can't even get his mouth to work because of how ugly the image is in that mirror. He is now the victimizer in a story that we now write. A story that has a glorious ending for us and our people. That is the seminal and pivotal difference between it's okay to be white and no white guilt. That is why flyers and leaflets and being on message boards and the like are going to go far further than it's okay to be white when you say no white guilt. Because you focus your audience on the fact that they are the bad guy in your story. And no one wants to be the bad guy. That is why that reporter was so frustrated. That is why he trembled. Because he couldn't see himself in this light. He wanted to get away from it as quickly as he could. This wasn't a simple pull the sword, the proverbial sword out and slay the Nazis anymore. This was a no, white people should be victimized. They should feel guilty. There shouldn't be white well-being. There shouldn't be a stand against anti-whiteism. Does this make sense now? This is my vindication over all of these years of arguing this position over and over and over, and others always claiming that they knew better. Wanting to talk with the regime's verbiage, because if you don't talk with their verbiage, then no one will take you legitimately. Well, look now on the success proven by these leaflets. Look and ponder long on this success. Look into the eyes of these anti-whites in your private conversations when you say to them, no white guilt. That you have no white guilt, and watch them scramble to try to defend why you should be victimized. Take them off of that perch of the hero striking down the villain, the murderer of millions. That is how they see themselves. No, you recast them as the villains they are. Make them look up at you, the virtuous who stands before the victimized and says, no more, you son of a bitch. That is the difference. And if you all, you know who stood up and told me, no, this isn't it. This isn't the way. You better start reaching out and apologizing. I treated you like men and women because we disagreed. Now is the time to come to the truth and the success. Now is the time, as I have done and will continue to do for all time, submit myself to that which works for white well-being. Come down off of your egos and submit to what works, as I will do, as Jared George does, as all that are good and noble will for this cause. No more time for this petty ego battles. Let's see some more of this. I give no orders to anyone to pass out leaflets or to put up banners or to put up billboards. But I tell you this is what works. And if you care about white well-being, then you are going to fill this prescription and you're going to take those pills. Simple, direct, like these flyers, no white guilt, no strange verbiage, no strange imagery, no usage. By the way, it chagrins my heart that we cannot use ancient symbols from our European past. But all of these symbols now have been declared evil by the anti-whites. It doesn't matter what it is, the sun wheel or the this rune or the that rune, they will strike it all down. It doesn't matter about your defense of all of these things. Don't use those symbols. I wish you could. Don't use any flags that they have already demonized, that they could already arrest you for or what have you. Speak with the words, speak with the curative contagion that will reach into the bodies and souls of our people so that they then come to us. They go free and they can share with their families. Heed these words, ladies and gentlemen. I am not sharing untried and untested. We are sharing what succeeds and what works. I told when we had the little debate with Ash Donaldson on the last tap, I told him when we went off air that my objective, and everybody, you need to take this the right way. My objective is to always end up at the right conclusion. And the way I'm going to do that is to accept that I am nothing more than a man. I'm a white man, and that's a lot. But I'm nothing more than a man, as fallible as all of you. And if we all accept that we are fallible, and we all bend our knees to what will serve best white well-being, there is nothing that will stop us. That is the message I wanted to share with you today. Take a quick look at the rest of my notes and see if there is any messages or super chats, comments that you all have before exiting. Looks like we just came to the 2-hour mark. I want to thank you all for being here. I thank all of my mods for the hard work that they do to keep the chat constructive. We will be seeing you all tomorrow, Thursday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So wherever you are in your time zone, please make sure to be present for that tap. We're going to have the great Morgoth on this channel. By that I mean this channel. I mean the tap will air over on Gardening with NWG. It'll be live streamed to the other platforms as well. So a big thank you to everyone who was here. A big thank you to everyone who participated. A monumental salute to the individuals or groups who participated in this leaflet drop, who did it professionally, ethically, legally, and reached hundreds of people by count of the anti-whites, eliciting phone calls to the police by the anti-whites. You did nothing wrong by exercising your First Amendment rights. That is lawful in the United States of America. What I saw on those leaflets, there were no threats. There was nothing to intimidate. The only thing I might recommend is when you make leaflets or banner drops, or you want to put up a billboard somewhere or what have you, exercise caution when you include the websites and etc. that you're going to put there, because the anti-whites are going to look at the leaflet and they're going to say, all right, well, let's look at this no white guilt character. Well, they welcome everybody who serves white well-being, irrespective of race, religion, sex that they're attracted to, etc. But then look at this other channel. If you dig down far enough, you see that they say some comments about something ugly. You know what I mean? Something really atrocious that wouldn't be acceptable in polite conversation. And that's where you have to be with these conversations. You need to appeal to the normal sensibilities of our people. Whatever you can say in polite conversation is okay. Things that you can say with the buddies while you're drinking some beers around a bonfire are not okay for this communication. So that's advice that I'll say for you all there. Looks like Stingray is here. Great to see you over on the gardening channel. Pride is here. Great to see you. I think that's a neat looking avatar. I'm not really sure if I'm seeing it right, but it is neat looking from the perspective here. Who else is here? Is that Bella Thea? I swear to you, these words on this monitor are this big. It's unbelievable. I got to figure out a way to magnify it, maybe by next time. I'm not seeing any comments directed to me over here. And so I will jump over to the other, see if we have any super chats or final comments or statements. It's been a spectacular day, ladies and gentlemen. I could not be more excited and elated to be with you all with these great successes. The censorship continues. I know a lot of you have been talking. We just had, who was it? Who was it the other day? A fantastic hero of our community. See, I think it was Quebec, wasn't it? Who said he was feeling down and needed a pick-me-up. We gave a bit of a pick-me-up then. This is off the charts of a pick-me-up. So thank you all so much for being here with us. Let's hop over here and let me see. Syntheside is here saying hello. Great to see you. Johnny the Confederate is here. Great to see you, brother. Quebec is here. Actually, is it the same, Quebec? I must be. Just mentioned you. So I hope you're feeling better. Kala Morak is here. Who else do we see? I know I mentioned Jennifer is here. So many great people. Tiger 41. Is that? Did I see? It went by quick. Was it MBC or M something or other? Karate Kick. Just scanning through, trying to see. Ghost Rider says he has no white guilt. Lane Sabatino says that's right to something. I saw some applause in there. 30-year-old Boomer says, well said. Sifu says, shout no white guilt and watch our enemies cower. Exactly. Exactly. Let them take the position of the victimizer that they are. Don't allow them to be the good guy in the story anymore. Don't allow them to be the person wielding the shining sword on the white horse. They are the headless horsemen. Come to lop your heads off, or the heads off of your children. Scotty, good to see you. Says your passion is infectious. Awesome. Fantastic. Then let's see it. Let's take it out into the world, into all of the other chats out there, all the rest of the community, all these these folks in the white positive community that have 2, 5, 10 times, 15 times the number of people watching live and in replay. Get into their, I know you all are in their chats often. Say these things. Tell these people to go free. Make sure that they know. Don't back down. You all are in the right. I stand behind you. Jared George stands behind you. There are no better people in this world. Poseidon stands behind you. Mark Collette stands behind you. Let me tell you what. Nothing moves me. So if you go out and you share Going Free with with a content producer or something like this, and they want to snark or they want to dismiss with their hands or something like this, rest assured, I am unmovable. Just like I stood up for that kid who was a little awkward and nerdy and got those bullies to leave him alone. Let them know that they weren't going to be allowed to bully him anymore and push him around and intimidate him, make his days hell. Just like I stood up for him, I stand up for you. So none of these people, if they think they're going to mock this or they're going to stand against this, they got another thing coming. Because I'm not backing down. They're not going to intimidate me. And they're certainly not going to intimidate me in person. Most of these people who want to snark on the internet, it's like on the phone back in the day. Maybe you all remember, if you're not quite young today, people were very willing. There were a lot of guys who'd be very willing to say a threat over a telephone, and then they get in person and you see that stain running down the front of their pants. I've seen it more than once. So plenty of those people who are willing to snark when they're in the position safe in some, basement somewhere, safe in their house out in the middle of some town, no town, and they know they're not going to be confronted by you. Let them snark like a little bitch and move on. Reach out to somebody who's worth reaching to. Don't let any of these people intimidate you. Let's see, what else do we have? Make sure we get these final super chats and we will be checking out. Final super chats, final comments for the night. And I am going to eat. Let's see, make sure. One more tab and we will make sure. Tree of Wisdom is asking, as I'm waiting for this to load, whether or not I've heard of Timothy in France killed by a border crosser. He died to stop him from stabbing more people on a train. A true hero. He is a true hero. He is absolutely a true hero. We were talking about striving for glory. The last going free, rather than it being, at the core of manhood is the desire for glory, rather than it being a romance with death. And I've been having some good conversations with folks about this, differing opinions. This Timothy, he died a heroic death, indeed. But you don't have to die in the midst of combat if you accept that at the core of manhood is the desire for glory rather than death. Then you can die. Timothy could have lived through this, lived out his days in service to White Wellbeing, and died a very old man with knife scars on his body, surrounded by a family that loves him, and he would have still died a hero's death. That is why I say at the core of manhood is the desire for glory rather than a romance with death. Okay, so it looks like we do have a super chat. We have a couple over on Ko-fi. We have a few. Looks like DB Cooper super chatting $3 on Ko-fi. Thank you so much. You all know indeed that I enjoy my coffee. This is a coffee mug created by the great Phoenix Fire. Not the mug itself. I'm sure she could do it if she put her mind to it. But the banner that you see here, you can get this mug on NoWhiteGuiltCollectibles.com. It's lovely, actually. You can see this lovely little girl that I actually contributed by picking her face out. No, she is not my daughter, but I would be honored to have one that looked that pretty. So DB Cooper says, I'd like to buy 5 to 10 copies of Going Free to share and give away. Should I email you or get them on Amazon? Do not get them on Amazon. Contact me and we will make it happen. I will get them to you more cheaply than you can get them from Amazon. And I salute you for offering to do that. And in fact, oh gosh, what's her name? If your name comes back before I close the stream, there is a woman, and please speak up if you're watching right now on either of the chats. Tag me so that I can see, and mods help me out if she does. I'll just say that she lives on the North American continent somewhere, and her name escapes me right now, or at least her public name. Everybody has 2 or 3 names, 4 names. This is getting tough. But she wants to send a number of books to South Africa, to these places where a lot of these young men are rebuilding their lives. They're not able to get jobs because of the anti-white discrimination. And, pardon me, and so they're going out, they're in these groups, they're going to farms, they're participating in these different events. And she wants to get the information of white well-being to them, of going free. She wants to get born guilty to them so that they can read the book. Now, she obviously is not going to be able to afford a book for all of them. There, of course, are many thousands of young white men, of our young white men, proud, strong, brilliant, handsome young white men who are discriminated against, who would turn that country back into the shining star, not only of that continent, but of this globe and this galaxy, if they were put in charge of that country again. But they won't be, because the anti-whites are in charge, and you won't be hearing about them because the anti-whites are in charge here. But she said a certain number, we can get them a certain number, and they can share the book. So I salute her. I love her. I said, I can't give them all away, but what I will do is I will buy half the number that you want. I will give the rest to you for as cheaply as I can possibly make them, and we will get those books to them. A big salute to her for the sacrifice and duty that she is making in the service of white well-being. Hail to that woman. Please, a round of applause for her. She knows who she is. If her name comes back to me during, before we close out, I will mention it. If not, we'll mention it another time. So she knows who she is. Thank you very much. DB Cooper will do the same thing. Reach out to me. We'll make it happen. JT Smith 101. Oi, oi, Jace. Super chatting $3. Thank you so much for being here and super chatting by way of Ko-fi so that we can get a little bit more money for white well-being. 41 BMC. Thank you, Jason. Writing, thank you, Jason. I don't believe, oh, that was maybe who I saw in the chat, 41 BMC. And I wasn't sure as I scanned through there. Please forgive me, ladies and gentlemen, if I'm scanning through and I see and maybe miss part of your name or whatever it is. I know you all understand what I'm getting at. So thank you very much for that, 41 BMC, $3. And Sneezana super chatting $15 over on Ko-fi as well. Thank you very much, Sneezana, for that super chat, and writing, may a great leader have a few coffees. Thank you so much. Make sure you're resting, Jason. Thanks for all of your hard work. Well, I'll make sure to get some rest. I'm fired up today, though, ladies and gentlemen. This is an exciting day, and I hope that you all can feel the excitement, that you can see the big difference, the fundamental, substantial difference between the old ways that we have seen throughout the white positive sphere that had some of them no success, some of them a little success, some of them just by dint of the personalities of the people that are pushing them had success, not because of the program was the best, or the marketing was the best, or the messaging was the best, or most importantly, the best message from our hearts, but because just their willpower pushed it to success. A big salute to all of those people. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we are tapping into the truth of what and who we are here, going free, here in service to white well-being. That is the language that we're sharing. We are tapping into the reality. When that interlocutor is put in the position of having to say, no, you should be victimized, and therefore that individual is the victimizer, they look into a crystalline mirror that exposes all of their warts and their hideous, all of that leprosy that covers their bodies, all of that syphilis that they've never been able to see in their lives because they've been so focused on cutting you to pieces as the hero in this fictional tale known as the anti-white narrative, so focused on being the moral hero and not realizing what they themselves actually look at. And now here, the weapon, the greatest weapon of our defense is not a sword. It's not hiding in some ground. It's not collecting a bunch of food supplies and all of that sort of business, or prepping for some sort of violence, or lamenting that nothing can be done. No, our greatest weapon In that moment now, when the anti-white, as Medusa, truly as Medusa, descends on us with snakes hissing atop that man or woman's head, our greatest weapon we hold up is the mirror. And ladies and gentlemen, on that note, I wish you all a very happy going free. And I will see you all tomorrow.